जय गजानन गणेशाय नमस्तुभ्यं हेरम्बाय एकदंतिने स्वानंदवासिने तुभ्यं ब्रह्मणस्पतये नमः. So yesterday we were seeing how Agni, who saved Agni, the story of Agni, because of whom the Suloma, wife of Bhrigumuni, was kidnapped by that Rakshasa, and his son, as she delivered the son um, prematurely while because of fear, and that son saved her from that Rakshasa and brought her back to Bhrigu ashram. And when Bhrigu heard of the whole story, he cursed Agni. And then we saw how Agni himself did penance and to Brahmadeva and then to Ganesha, and then how he redeemed himself, how he himself got got out of his self isolation. He had isolated himself because he felt ashamed of the curse. He felt that he had lost um, his self worth, and so he isolated himself, and then the devas and everybody suffered because they were not getting their offerings and food. His role was diminished, and hence he himself wanted to redeem himself from the curse. He wanted to get rid of that curse, and he prayed to Brahmadeva. Brahmadeva advised him with the Ekakshara mantra. And on that basis of Ekakshara mantra, he got darshan of Ganesha. Ganesha blessed him. He said that you will be pure. You will, in fact, not only be rid of that curse, but you will be so purified that all the offerings will turn into nectar through you. When it passes through the Agni, will become nectar, and that will become the food of the gods, to the respective gods whom the devotee is making the offering. And so Agni, that's why the role of Agni is very important in the Indian culture. Not only in Indian culture, right from man, when he was in the Stone Age, it was through rubbing of two stones that he discovered this fire, Agni, and he was able to even eat cooked food. Otherwise, he was eating raw things from nature. And because of the discovery of fire, this Agni, we were able to eat more healthily, which is digestible by our system. Well, that story aside, this now the Suloma, the child whom the Suloma gave birth to was named Chavana. Chavana, he was after obtaining permission, he got initiated because his father himself was a Rishi Bhrigumuni. So he took initiation from Bhrigumuni. He went to the forest, and in a nice next to a nice stream, he built his own kutia and he stayed there, did penance, and for 1,000 years he did penance, and he was enlightened. Means he because of that intensity of the penance, he became so luminous. He himself became luminous, and so everything around him were looking up to him with adoration. And he further continued the penance by sitting into the water. He went under the water and he did penance in the water by holding his breath. And one day, while he was meditating under the water, this fishermen from that nearby river, from that river where he was, in which he was meditating, they they spread their net in the on that river, and along with the fish, they got this whole Chavana Rishi in that caught in the net, and they while pulling it up, it was so heavy. The fishermen thought, "Oh, we've got a big bounty today." But then when they found that this Rishi was had become so thin with no food, nothing. He was sitting in meditation. He was lost in meditation. So when they pulled him up, now they got frightened. So they that what if we do anything to this rishi, he might curse us. So they were frightened, and so they went to the king, their king Nahusha. If you remember, King Nahusha is in the lineage of Mahavishnu, and Nahusha only married that Shiva's daughter. Shiva's daughter means Shakti's Parvati's daughter. Parvati created a daughter out of her own wish by Manasaputri kind of, not Manasaputri, means with permission of Shiva, but created just like Ganesha, means made a doll and then infused life. So to that daughter, Nahusha was married. And so this Nahusha, King Nahusha, he was a king there, and he came, he saw, the fisherman called him. And when he saw this the condition, now this they woke him up, the Chavana Rishi, and Chavana was feeling concern for the fish in the net. He was telling them, leave them, leave them. But this fisherman is saying, we have caught this net to earn money. We have caught the fish to, it is our source of living. How you are telling us to leave? But this Rishi, he could not bear to see the fish like that, panting for breath, and just, so he started throwing the fish back into the water, all the fish. So then now the fisherman said, if you throw all the fish into the water, what about our livelihood? Now you pay us some price. So the king, so they asked the king, so the rishi said, you king, you pay them the price. So the king gave him 100 gold coins. Then the fisherman said, what, we don't know what value. Let the rishi decide what value to take. That we will take. So the king gave 100 gold coins. The Muni said, no, I don't, this is too less. Then he gave him a 1,000 coins. That also was the king gradually increased. No, not the rishi, the fisherman. If we have to let this rishi go, then you pay the fisherman. The king has to pay the fisherman for the loss of the fish which this rishi has left into the water, released into the water. So the king in the 1,000 gold coins, fisherman did not agree. Then yeah, and the Muni was also not satisfied with that valuation. Then the king decided to give one village. That also they were not satisfied. One town he gave. That also he was not satisfied. Then the king offered half of his kingdom, but the Muni was not pleased. So the king offered his entire kingdom. Now, this also was not acceptable. So now the king was tired. Now he has given the whole kingdom. Now he has nothing left. So what to do? He went back to his ashram, and he prayed. What to do with this to satisfy the fisherman and this Muni also? So that one this Bharadwaja Muni, Bharadwaja Rishi, is a yogi. He came that side. He came to the kingdom. Naturally, in all such situation, some rishi who has a visionary knowledge of any king or king in trouble, they go to that place to solve that problem. In those days, these were Raja rishis. Actually, the rishis' work only was like that, to solve problems. Otherwise, they had no purpose of living or existing. But they had so many. They lived for thousands of years, so virtually no death. So then they went about solving people's problems. So when the king was in trouble, this Bharadwaja Muni arrived there. King Nausha bowed down to the Bharadwaja Rishi and said, the Muni asked King Nausha, you seem to be so worried. What is your problem? So then the king told him the whole story, what had happened. See, this Muni is caught, this Chavana Rishi is caught into this by the fisherman, and now he has, out of his compassion, he has let all the fish into the river. Now they are not allowing him to go, and without him going and without him Rishi being satisfied and peaceful, we are afraid that he will curse us. So how to settle this situation? So Bharadwaja Rishi said, a Brahmin and a cow are one and the same, although they are of the same, are not of the same species. They are of different species, but their value is the same. Why? Just as the Brahmin, he is of sattvic quality, and he learns and digests and extracts the knowledge of the Vedas by way of mantras, and those mantras are so powerful. They are good enough to solve, to helpful in yajnas and solve and make offerings to the gods. So similarly, a cow also, the milk that the cow gives, which can be purified, butter can be removed. That butter can be heated, and the ghee is removed, and that ghee is offered into the yajna, which is the best form of nectar for the gods. So that is why the a Brahmin and a cow are considered equal in value. That is why even a cow hatya is considered a Brahmin's hatya. As a the punishment is equivalent to Brahma hatya. So when Bharadwaja Muni says, so now, so this since he is a Brahmin, you give a cow to this fisherman, they will be satisfied. So the king decides, he thanks the Bharadwaja Muni. He brings a cow and he gives it to the Muni, and he says, "Say, take this." So Muni was also satisfied with the compensation, and he hands over the cow to the fisherman. Fishermen were satisfied; they let him go. And now the Chavana Rishi is also satisfied, and he also is freed from the fishermen. The fishermen allowed, because they got a sufficient big compensation, so they allowed the rishi to go. Otherwise, they had caught that Chavana Rishi and kept and were bargaining with the king. So now Chavana Rishi was free. He went to the forest and started doing meditation, and he became very powerful. Means in the sense that he got all siddhis. Now one day, King Saryati, he of another kingdom. These rishis also travel. They don't remain in the same ashram. They go to the another place. King Saryati, he came hunting in the forest. So Chavana Muni was meditating. He was very deep into meditation. All termites had grown on him. The ants had made a hill around him. So much so that he was not visible. It was like an ant hill only was present there. Now, along with this king, his daughter also had come. His daughter with her friends. They said, "Chalo, picnic manayenge." The king is gone for hunting, so the daughter and all her friends also went along in a carriage, and they all arrived. And in an open space, they halted. The king went hunting. His daughter and Sukanya, Saryati's daughter Sukanya, and her friends were playing. When they were playing around, they found this ant hill. And in this ant hill, the Saryati's daughter Sukanya, she found some two things shining. So what she did, she didn't know what it was. So she took a thorn and poked it, poked at that shining object on that ant hill. Now that was the eyes of this Chavana Rishi. Blood started flowing from that eyes. And then when she saw the blood flowing from the on the ant hill, she got frightened and she ran away. And she didn't tell anybody anything. She just went home, went back to the palace. Now then they were all searching. What happened? And then the other girls, came in search of her, and then they saw this blood. They also got frightened. Then the king asked, "What happened? What is this?" And all. Then when the king, after investigation, they found that it was a rishi sitting there, and Chavana Rishi was sitting in meditation, and somebody had poked, and so the king was furious. Now, now he made an investigation. Investigation was on, and then finally this girl admitted she couldn't bear that she had done such a mistake. And so now, who instead of so she admitted to the king that, "I didn't know what it was. Playfully I saw an anthill and something was shining. It was looking, and so I poked this, so this had happened." So now I am prepared to take whatever punishment you give me. You give me the punishment. I know I've done a big mistake. I had never intended to do this mistake. I am prepared for any punishment. So Chavana Rishi said, "See, now you have made me blind. I can't do anything now on my own. I will need help, somebody to serve me. So give me the daughter let your daughter serve me for the rest of my life." Agreed. So Saryati agreed. Sukanya also agreed to serve the rishi, and she happily served the Muni, disregarding her physical needs or anything, and considering all this as an delusion. And so the Chavana Rishi also carried on his work, and whatever he needed, the samagri and all that for the yajna, and everything she did, she took care of him. One day, the Sanat Kumaras came to that ashram. The Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, Sanatana, all of them. They came to the ashram and stood in front of him. And then the Muni, the Muni asked them, the Sanat Kumaras are considered as physicians of the gods. They are the doctors to the gods. So, Muni asked, please restore my eyes. Restore my eyes. So the Muni said, okay, but why don't you, out of the power of your own tapas, you will be able to see, your tapas is so great. If out of that tapas, you make us the offerings, you make offerings to us, then we will restore your eyes. The Muni agreed. So the Sanat Kumaras first said, okay, before you making any offerings and all, we will go and have bath in the river and come. You also come along. So they all jumped into the river. They had this, and then when they emerged, all of them were looking alike. They were all looking alike. Even the rishi looked like one of those Sanat Kumaras. And then he came out, he performed the yajna, he made the offerings to the Sanat Kumaras. His eyes were restored. Sukanya was happy. Then Sukanya was very happy. One day, King Saryati came to visit her and found what a changed person this Rishi was. He was looking like one of those Sanat Kumaras, as young and with eyes restored. And his daughter was also very happy. So Saryati decided to have a yajna in his palace. So he invited all of them. This Rishi, Chavana Rishi only was to conduct the yajna. And so all were invited, the Apsaras, Munis, all of them were invited according to and commenced the yajna in a manner befitting his status. All devas, apsaras came, many eminent munis arrived, and all people of all castes, all varnas gathered to witness the yajna. So this ends this chapter on the 41st chapter. The story is not yet over of Chavana Rishi, but this chapter ends of the second khand of Purana Upanishad, Srimad Mudgal Puran. Now here I want to take this discussion on. I think Sri Hari is not there, but so it will be a conversation between us. I wanted to discuss on. Now here, Chavana Rishi. So I wanted to discuss on three words. What is bandhan or bondage? What is freedom? And what is moksha? Mukti and moksha. Freedom and liberation. So three words: bondage, freedom, liberation. That is in Sanskrit words: bandhan, mukti, and moksha. Okay, got it? Can you tell me what do you mean by that?
Pressure cooker was whistling.
Okay, I hope you're not under pressure.
No,
Bandhan,
this
bandhan, mukti, and moksha. What do you mean by that? I just want to know how much what you understand by these words before I can proceed.
moksha means it's as good as liberation.
Okay,
You can say they are of the same meaning. And first you said freedom.
mukti. Mukti is mukti and moksha. Mukti, moksha, bandhan. Bandhan, mukti, moksha. You are saying mukti and moksha one and the same,
More or less.
more or less. Okay. Then moksha abandhan.
Bandhan is a restriction, you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean,
Okay.
it could be moral or otherwise. Somebody has imposed it.
Hmm. Moral or otherwise, that is your physical, you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So let's elaborate on this. Hmm?
yeah.
So I prefer to know my my audience so that I can take off from there, rather than unlike Modi ji, who brings an audience whose level he already knows, and then he talks only in that level, irrespective of the level of the audience. So what happens? You get a tape recorded kind of speeches every time, everywhere. With the same bad word, same tone, same kind of rona dhona. So we will look at it from different level. Bandhan, bandhan is bondage, right? Bondage is, it could be physical, as you said, which could be even in a prison, like in a prison where you're tied up, or where like even animals are sometimes tied up and kept, or it could be in the form of restrictions that imposed by your parents or people of authority. Don't go here, don't go there, come within 6 o'clock, come within that time. Means you're restricted, your freedom is restricted. You means you have to work within either a time frame or within an area frame, physical area or boundaries, a certain restricted area. You can't go outside the village, don't go to the next town, or beyond that area. That could be one kind of bondage. Another kind of bondage could be um uh, physical. Then again, other restrictions. Don't say this, don't say that. The freedom of speech, you can't say something in like, you can't speak anything in front of elders. Sometimes in those days, I remember, you have to stand in front of elders in the room. If there is a father sitting, or father or mother or grandmother, grandfather, then you will remain standing. Or if there is no father or mother, if the eldest brother is there, then all the younger brothers would stand. Have you observed? These
Yeah.
are not these are real. I have known, in our own family, when we go to native place, these customs are still prevailing, where in front of elders you stand, and until they tell you to sit down, even then you will sit on the floor instead of on a chair or something. Even if a chair is available, they'll sit on the floor. So these were a certain.
That is showing respect to them.
Yes, that is as per Indian culture. We feel that it is a kind of respect that we show to the elder person, or uh, but with the arrival of the British or the Western culture, it is considered slavery. With colonization, when we sit like that, now, for example, in front of a British official, when a worker was made to sit, he sat on the floor. So that was considered as a slavery to that British person, and it was not considered as a respect
Respect.
for him. It was not out of respect; it was more out of fear. See, now the difference between a voluntary bondage, which is a moral bondage. You said something, it could be moral or a physical, otherwise. A moral will be when you show a respect or reverence, and when it will be slavery out of fear. When it is out of fear. So this is the distinction of bondage. Marriage is also a bondage for a woman who is dedicated to her husband, for whom like pativrata, who considers her husband to be equivalent to God, or someone to whom she has surrendered, or to whom she adores, someone whom she has looks up to for everything. For her, that is not a bondage. Means that is a different kind of bondage, whereas the same another woman who is in marriage also, but out of fear, she restricts her movement, or she restricts her relationships, or how she talks, or how she dresses, or how she remains inside the house, or does not go out, just simply serve him. She can consider mentally, morally, as a servant. There are marriages also where the wives consider as a bonded labor to that husband. There are also marriages where the woman adores her husband, and she's there also, she selflessly works. She will work till she will not eat till he returns home also, and she'll not feel that hunger. But when you do it out of fear or out of a sense of servitude, no, not servitude, it is out of a sense of obligation or a punishment, or I mean, um,
Custom.
I'm now tied up with this man, so I have no other way out. And then you force yourself to do that, or you're forced to do that, then also it becomes a bondage. There is a difference between binding and bondage. There is also binding. Binding means
It is not
you
voluntary.
voluntary. No, it's not voluntarily. It is
Yeah,
not
it is not
voluntary.
voluntary.
It is you force yourself to do that.
Most upon her.
Forced upon her. So then one is a punishment, one is depressing, one is elevating. One is elevating, one is depressing. Right? So also in freedom. Now, in freedom, you said that freedom and liberation are one and the same. No, freedom and liberation, mukti and moksha are totally two different things. Mukti is what we consider this democratic country. Freedom. That is not moksha. Understood? Freedom means within certain rules and regulations, we allow ourselves the freedom to move, freedom to work, freedom to eat, freedom to speak, those are all freedom according to certain constitution which we have accepted. That is a mukti, freedom. Within certain limits, you have freedom. Right? Means you, without being abusive, you can still talk anything.
You can move your hand
You can move your hand, but without
as,
slapping anybody. No, but
as far
if
as the
you
nose
do
of
an
the person.
action which looks forcefully, you're going to beat him, then you're liable. Then that becomes an offense. So that is the differentiation between a freedom that is allowed, freedom that is not allowed. Now there are different kinds of freedom. Even in freedom, in the society or in the country, people will look at freedom in different ways. Now, for example, a person from a village and a town, a group of people, or let us consider girls from a village and girls from the town. Girls from the village will say, at least I should be able, I should have be able to go to a school close by rather than having to travel 10 miles. I should be able to have water to drink. I should be able to get enough healthy living. That is, at least sanitary pads I should have, or that kind of things they may be demanding. And I should not be. I should be allowed to go to school. Even an being allowed to go to school without you come back, or you don't go alone, or you don't go this means that itself is freedom. Whereas in a city or a town, they will say, I must be allowed to wear what I want to go to school. I should not be given a uniform. I should not be allowed to wear a tie, or I should not have a bow. And, you should not force it upon me. I should be able to do what I want. I should be. See, that may be a different kind of freedom in a town. For the same thing, education has become meaningless. That learning or then going to school or college has become secondary. So your values have changed. What you are demanding as freedom, then you must be allowed to go to a movie, you must have pocket money, and you must have means so many other kinds of freedom you ask. Means you ask for a certain, your definition of freedom undergoes a change. Then uh, in a city, it may be another kind of freedom. I must have quick modes of transport. I must have access to higher education. It is not only I'm not satisfied by just merely schooling and then going to work. I want to study more. Before I don't even want to get married at a particular age. Whereas a village girl might be happily wanting to get married at 18. She's already thinking of a prince on horse coming to take her. Whereas a girl of in 18 into this, oh my God, how many options are available for me? Courses, do MA, PhD, whatever. And so many other courses are there. I want to do all of that before I even think of getting married. No, I'm not thinking another 5, 10 years down the line. So she has already decided. And in another country, for example, in the West, I don't want to get a child till 40, till I attain an executive level. And then the executive level, then gone. Like, your time also is gone. Your fertile period is also gone. So then certain other advanced techniques you need at intra this and all, and then you store your sperm, you store your eggs, and then you have another person getting pregnant for your sake, and then you have
Surrogate.
surrogate children, and then you have a host of complications, all for the word of freedom, all for sake of freedom. I must be allowed to enjoy my physical beauty, physical means my desire for self love means self कि मुझे famous होना है, मुझे beautiful दिखना है कि, and then you restrict all of that. No, that can wait, whatever can wait, and then you can't wait beyond that. And then when life forces itself upon you, and then you lose your freedom. And then you find alternatives, and that's how man has invented so much out of his mental freedom to think of alternative solutions. He has discovered so much freedom. This is as far as a positive attitude is concerned. A person who is a negative person, if he wants to cheat somebody, he wants to rob somebody, he wants to achieve greater fame over somebody, he wants to grab somebody else's business. Okay, then they adopt other measures like bribing. Then you have stealing, murder, and all of that. Then for those who still are bold enough to use spiritual powers also, then they adopt the tantric methods of doing black magic, and then binding somebody, and then using the dead people's uh, booth pret and all to to cause harm to people, and n number of things man himself has invented. And there are many books about that. There are
Dark
many
side.
books, many guidance, many societies, many groups who do that, who live on that, who survive, who have that for a living. This is freedom. Okay. So all this freedom exists in our country. If there is 140 crore people, you have variety of freedom and limitations of freedom, variety of definitions of freedom, and variety of solutions, or how that freedom should be restricted, imposed on another's freedom you restrict, so that you can have freedom. See, this is the uh, length and breadth of definition of freedom. And within this freedom, there is someone who's fed up of all of this kind of freedom. I want to get out of the cycle of birth and death. I don't want all these limitations that I have to suffer. Every birth I have to suffer, then restrict somebody's freedom, gain more freedom, gain more money, gain more wealth, I will achieve certain position, and then die, and again be born again. And then wo jo karma ka backlog hai, usko you suffer for that, even though you are very rich, you may be a king of that country, and still you are suffering the backlog of karma. Because that backlog of karma doesn't go. You only have to suffer. Somebody cannot suffer for you. You can't transfer. That transfer may happen, but in the transferring, the transfer ka bhi yagna karte hain, transfer the punya karma or papa karma to somebody else. But in the process, what happens, if that person to whom it is being transferred, for some years, that person will suffer. But in that process, that person will gain so much punya, because that is not his karma that he is suffering. It is someone else's karma. It may appear that this person, next janam, he will become the king, and this person will become his servant. This person who has transferred the karma to somebody else, The roles will get reversed in the next lifetime. That is how karma is always, karma never ends. Means it apna vasool kar leta hai. Apna, whatever it has to get it out of you, it will get done. So you may hoodwink. That is hoodwinking yourself. So then where is freedom? So that is why a person who gets this insight, who gets this knowledge, and this knowledge also comes by his grace. That is, by some divine grace, you just suddenly clicks. Suddenly you say, "Hey, this looks so suffocating. This looks so suicidal." Means, ये हम खुद के ऊपर ही we are punishing ourselves. So then you want liberation. That is moksha, and then you strive towards that. In that path is also not easy, because you have to, every time you will get temptations. This looks so easy because something else looks so easier. You'll have to choose every time the more difficult path. So when you are choosing, when you want to do a post graduation, the graduation was easy, but post graduation is difficult. So you may have to do research, go here, there, find out books and study. So the path is difficult. But then after a certain time, when you have a faith on something good, just see, there is a statement in that movie Secret. The universe is always positive. The universe always says yes, right? Universe always is positive, means says yes. So if you say, I want this, tatastu. Bhagwan always said tatastu. So that means even if you ask that this person will, he may say tatastu, but then he will not say that you will have to suffer the consequences of that. So if you say that this person should die, he may that whether that person dies or not, whatever it is, but this person will have to face the consequence. If that person doesn't die, or if he's does because his time has not come, that person's death time has not come, but this person wants it faster, so he will do some accomplice things, and in that he'll get caught and he will have to suffer the punishment. Situation will happen like that. A person will die only when his time has come.
No, but
That is,
normally, when you ask the universe something, it
hmm,
has to be
it will say
positive.
yes. No, it will say yes, not positive. The universe
No,
doesn't know what is
if
positive and negative. Universe में positive and negative है. दोनों ही created by the Lord. Both have been created in equal power by God. All will exist. The God only says yes. Yes is not always positive. Yes sir बोलते रहो तो that is positive.
no, what you ask for.
What you ask for. Even if it is negative, it will be tatastu. You don't know that it is negative. Supposing you say that like like I'm going to rob somebody's house. Hmm? That I want to be successful in that. I want to be able to rob. Tatastu. But that tatastu means it has no clause that you will not get caught. If you get caught, you'll be punished. That suffering will be there. It doesn't say that you will escape.
That means it is karma.
That is karma only. So ultimately, only karma wins. Even though, so you every action as an reaction, equal and opposite in direction.
Right.
So that law
Newton's
only will
law.
win. Laws, universal laws alone will win. So you think it is freedom, you think it is this liberation, it is not liberation. So that is you may use the word differently, freedom as liberation, but actual moksha is liberation from the cycle of birth and death. That is ultimate liberation. So when Julius Caesar say what? No, not Julius Caesar. When they called liberty, freedom, equality, liberty, freedom as a three essentials, liberty, liberty. I want liberty. What do you mean by that liberty? So that word liberty will mean different things to different people. depending on what level they are. And so when we enter into these kinds of conversations, or when we try to prophesize, or when we try to when we come on a platform and tell certain things, the audience will interpret according to their level, not according to what you say, right? So that is why you must be able to understand to whom you're talking to. You talk about moksha, about getting out of the cycle of lead to villagers, they'll say, what is it talking about? Both bada baat karta hai. And they'll go, बहुत बड़ा बात क्या है 1-2 घंटा, and they listened patiently because they were offered lunch after the whole discourse was over. So they will have their lunch, that will satisfy them, and they'll go. For them, that was freedom. That is, उस दिन का खाना नहीं बना है, तो उतना freedom they had, they could this, and they'll go. So ultimately, when we in a country, in a democracy, when we look at it from the point of view of democracy, today we say that we are not feeling our freedom is restricted under this government, so we want a different government. So what is that freedom that we want? In what way are we restricted? We'll have to look into that, and whether it is acceptable or not acceptable. For 12 years, it was acceptable. For 11 years, it was acceptable. Suddenly, the 12th year, jaag gaya. Certain things seem unacceptable because actions were different from results. What is spoken was not seen to be experienced, was not the reality. When that difference or that awareness comes, awareness that जो दिखता है वो है नहीं, when that jagruti, that aware, till then you are deluded. Till then you are in a delusion, perception, a parallel reality. It was looking very real, right? You asked the question, no? What is parallel reality? कितना खोखला है parallel reality? That is the what a schizophrenic patient sees. Parallel reality. उसको एकदम real दिखता है. He is able to talk to that people. He is able to actually see that people, and that means the whole country was in schizophrenic mode for 11 years. Okay, forget the first 2-3 years maybe. For about 5-6 years, you were in a parallel reality.
That is a long period.
So much. And that too for 130 plus crores of people to be in that kind of a mode. Of course, we can't say that. Then what happens? This factor of fear comes into play. To what extent you're able to tolerate and accept and do your own thing without being noticed, or because here the canvas is big. It's not a house. It's not a family. So at the macrocosmic level, the smaller waves go unnoticed in the big oceans. Only the big waves or the giant waves are seen, visible in an ocean. Only when the tidal waves are visible, and the smaller waves that keeps sinking every time. It's not noticeable. When it becomes a tidal wave, then it is noticed when when the canvas is big. Get it? That's why when the whole problem assumes gigantic proportions, then it becomes visible, and then the bigger people's problem is so big that the smaller people forget their fears and then express themselves. That for that small person, that fear is real, but that was so big, that fear was so big that it was not able coming out. It is only when a problem becomes small that we are able to rise above that problem. जब हमको, when we have lost 10 rupees, 20 rupees many times, then when we lose 100 rupees, for that 10 rupees, 20 rupees is very, very little. Then we'll say, अरे मैंने तो 100 rupees खो दिया है, मीन्स मैंने तो कितना 10 rupees खो दिया है, 10 rupees, 20 rupees छोड़ दिया है. Now I am 100 rupees problem hai. So then you speak
So
for the
for
10 and
10
20
rupees,
rupees.
he must have lost 10 times.
10
And he's not
times.
bothered.
Yes. When
But
this becomes
100
a big
rupees,
problem, then those smaller fears you are able to freely tell others. It looks so small that you are able to express it. So when you have a big problem, the smaller problems becomes relatively smaller compared to the problem of life or death. Today, if people are pledging their golds and jewelry to get money out of from the banks, because all their savings are gone, having 10 rupees savings in this was better than that. No, in your SB account, having a savings account balance and having a OD account balance is different. OD account में क्या balance है? Debit balance है. Credit balance नहीं होता है वो. उसको भी balance ही बोलते हैं. Debit balance is different from a credit balance. जब डेबिट बैलेंस बहुत बढ़ जाता है, that is when debt it becomes too much. That is when tariffs are coming.
they won't come.
Hopefully, that is a different thing. But when debts increase so much, then tariffs are levied to bring it in balance. Books balance होना चाहिए ना. Balance sheet auditor will not certify it if it is not balanced. Then what they do, they will increase the value of the building asset. Property revaluation करके वो बढ़ा देते हैं to equal the amount of the loan. बैलेंस शीट टैली होता है हर साल.
One second, 1 minute, 1 minute. I have to go and come. Yes.
Today Srihari is not there to contribute to the discussion.
We could have had it tomorrow then. At least
No,
some
it's his loss.
viewpoint would have
No,
come.
it's his loss. It's his loss. So this is our freedom. We express our freedom because this topic was hot. I wanted to have a discussion on this. So this is the difference between mukti, moksha, and liberation, bondage, and
Freedom.
war. Yeah, what happened? You're saying
Freedom.
something? And freedom. Yeah, freedom. And even in this condition, what we are in, we must when as individuals we can decide for ourselves. But how much we can decide for ourselves will depend upon what the government decides for us. And all we have is that vote. So now, but when that itself is rigged, and when they want to, when the government wants to retain power out of all these black magic method of means illegal means or wrongful methods of retaining power, then 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 judiciary has to express itself. Then we have a method of judiciary. But here again, judiciary is again inhabited by human beings, and human frailties are there. So that's why the training, the coaching, the mentoring which people undergo in at different stages, different ongoing learnings. You keep abreast of the latest rules, regulations, and then what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. All these things come into play, and the deserving should not deserving. The one who is um, who has the larger good in good the see, in all management books, it is authority goes with responsibility. You cannot have authority without responsibility. So both are commensurate with each other. So we need to. That's why for the justice, two scales are there. One cannot be heavier than the other. Both should be in balance. So that is why that balance has always to be maintained, whether the eyes are closed or not. Okay, merely opening the eyes will not help. Even you have to be open mentally. Ye either agar banda kal ka tala, then you can't it can't work. The akal ka thala should be open, whether you eat with pan or whether you open it with your knowledge, intelligence, reading books, or applying your wisdom and intelligence. That's necessary. So otherwise, people suffer, and if people suffer too much, then nature will take over. Nature will take over. People suffering, ultimately, that energy is absorbed by Mother Earth. What we breathe out is absorbed by the trees. Because whether knowingly or unknowingly, there is always an interchange exchange. Because we eat from nature what we have to eat daily, we have to breathe daily, and if we exhale sorrow, it is absorbed by the trees. You see, the tree's health will go down. You can visibly see that the leaves dry. It is infected. The trees will automatically die. That is how the deserts are formed. Deserts formed out naturally through barrenness of the people. The nature becomes barren. So nature will always respond to how behave, how we behave towards ourselves and to others. It may begin very small, but it will have long-term impacts. And sometimes it may become so fierce and so violent. I mean, so ferocious, like the floods that we are having. It is out of anger. When the heat increases, it has to be cooled down. So the water will get affected. The water will spread around to reduce the heat. The heat could be of anything. It could be of anger. It need not necessarily be from fire. It need not take the element of fire. We have several other fiery elements in us. Eyes, when you look with your ferocity in your eyes, that itself is fire. Because it creates fear. So everything will react. There will be a reaction, and then ultimately we don't know how it is causing. Do we have to suffer? And then you lament over it. That doesn't help. So be aware. We need to be aware of all these things. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is not bliss at all. Ignorance, if you are ignorant, it is not that you are ignorant. A villager will know when it's going to rain. Just by looking at the sky, he'll tell you that today it's going to rain or not. Even in a non-rainy season, he can tell if it is going, if a storm is coming, if he can, this. They have that sense of telling. Similarly, animals know when an earthquake is going to come. They don't have any seismograph or anything. They will automatically fly for safety, or they'll make noise to even caution us. See, there is something coming, there's something going to happen. But we must have our ears, eyes, nose, everything open to be receptive to that. If we are totally engaged in our own selfish ends, selfish means of creating fear in others, of how to increase our self glorification, self aggrandizement, and everything, that's going to create a certain imbalance in the atmosphere, nature, society, which will have its repercussions. And then ultimately, we'll attribute to one very beautiful word in the Sanskrit language, karma. But karma will always will happen. We might say it is karma, and karma sometimes it is generally said with a negative intonation.
Yeah.
It is never with a positive, say karma.
Karma ka phal.
Ye karma. Karma means you, but it's like a punishment only you tell karma. Because it is out of your own deeds. You have earned that.
So when something good happens, they don't say it is karma ka
They
phal.
don't say it is karma. They karma ka phal they'll tell. है ना? वो
ये
फल है.
वो तुम्हारा भाग्य है.
भाग्य, yeah, भाग्य. अहो भाग्य.
भाग्य. These are opposites. भाग्य and कर्मों का फल.
But कर्म का ही फल है वो. This also what
भाग्य is also कर्म का
if
फल.
you're suffering, that is also कर्म का ही फल है. But you express it
You
differently.
express it differently.
So generally karma means it's negative. That's because we are doing negative. That means our negative tendencies are more than the positive, or our tendency towards the self is positive, but it has more negative impact on others. That means our authority is more than our responsibility. We are looking at our authority more than our responsibility. We are
Right.
looking at our rights more than our duties.
So duties are not for us. Only
Not for
rights.
us. It is for someone else, no? As someone was telling that is, we want Bhagat Singh in our neighbor's house, not in our house.
Exactly.
Bhagat Singh should be the son of our neighbor, not in our son. Yes, sir. Wow. So this was a big discussion on Bandhan, moksha, liberation, freedom.
But then
So I
one
hope,
thing, Saraswati,
yes,
see, we have discussed this today. Okay.
yes, yes.
So after a period of time, say 1 year or so,
Mm,
what will be the picture? We cannot what you call see it right now.
yes.
Only when it comes, we'll be able to see. And then the truth of our what you call thinking, whatever we are expecting, that will dawn.
Yes. So now the seeds are sown. In this discussion, seeds डाल दिया है. अभी इसका अभी हम intellectually understand कर रहे हैं. Maybe now when you're listening to me, you're able to intellectually grasp or understand. But experientially, you will know later.
Huh, that's it. That's what I'm saying.
Experientially and उसका अनुभव जब हम अनुभव करते हैं ना, तब हम wisdom आता है. तब then you will not repeat.
I was right.
Information. It is only information.
Then I will say I was right or wrong.
Yeah, then you'll say yes. It is with reference to the past.
Past.
It's not with reference to the present, So
Okay.
at that time, but then when it is that is why imbibing is necessary. Embodiment of that what you're going through. It is not when so there is a way of reading also. Reading as an experiential thing, no, then you will not have to experience it in order to know it. You know it and you will have already experienced it even while reading. So that is the difference in the way of learning. Experiential learning is different from just learning to write the exam or just reading for the sake of completing the book, or I
When
have
you
read 100
read,
books this month, or
yeah,
have read so many things. No,
when
that
you
is for
read, you should feel it.
statistics. That is for statistics. I think it's 8 o'clock, so we'll call it a day.
Yeah,
We'll meet tomorrow and
yeah.
continue. Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.